because I don't want that to happen again.
Yeah, you just gotta mute the sound on the playback stream. That's all.
Yeah. Let me just go back to this here, and let me just get into the stream and say hello to everyone and see who's all watching. Okay, here's let's see who we got in the house. Okay, we got R2R3 Lockingnut. How are you? We got Bruce, Mr. BHB, Dave's Our Guitars. How are you? Jason Wade, Jeff Underwood, Stafford Studio. How's it going? Jeff Replinger, Dave R's Guitars, Simon Williams. How are you, sir? Mitch Heyman. How's it going? Quentin James. Who else? David Ennis. How you doing, sir? Pepper Borges. My wife's in the chat. R2R3, mentioned R2R3, but I'll mention him again. How are you, sir? Paul Liu. Who else we got? Shauna Marie Sings, how are you? Jeff Underwood, how's it going? Zach Thong, how are you? Groovy Ghoulie, how's it going? Dry Heat, how are you? Okay, I'm all caught up. Yeah, so I'd like to thank Shane for popping in. I apologize.
No, that's all right. We should have just left it the way it was.
Yeah, you know what, man? If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Yeah.
Yeah. All good.
Sorry, man. So I'm very happy to have Shane here. Shane was gracious enough to come on my little channel and talk to all us guitar freaks over here. So Shane, so I just wanted to ask you a couple of questions here. Yeah, so like when did you start playing and what got you into playing in the first place?
I always like music. Like I can hear myself coming back at me from your speakers. Anyway, sorry. There we go. Sorry guys. Yeah, the feedback loop's really hard. It's hard to talk when you can hear yourself. Yeah, so I always liked music at a young age, you know, and I grew up watching the Blues Brothers, and I always feel like that was maybe the catalyst for me wanting to play blues and that sort of music, the soul stuff. Just so much good music in that soundtrack, you know. And I played, you know, recorder as a kid at you know, primary school. Like,
oh yeah,
I don't know what age I was. I was pretty young. I first picked a guitar up when I was in 6th grade, and I learnt E and A and D, I think, and then I put it back down until late high school. But I remember really wanting to learn. One of the biggest motivations for me was an album called From the Cradle that Eric Clapton made.
Okay.
And I didn't even know that was him. I had no idea. We were listening to it in the car, and I was living in Michigan at the time, and up in Torch Lake, and we listened to it back to the airport, and I was like, what is this? You know, like, this is awesome. I thought it was B.B. King. You know, I didn't know anything about blues. That was the only blues guy I knew was B.B. King pretty much. And John Lee Hooker, I think, were the only two that I knew prior to that. Really well. Obviously, other than the fact, the people that I saw on the Blues Brothers. But yeah, that was pretty much one of the big inspirations for me wanting to learn how to play blues. In guitar in general, I always liked Mark Knopfler as well. One day it kind of clicked. Like I'd been listening to heavy metal, and I'd been listening to all kinds of stuff, like crazy, like Tool and White Zombie and Metallica and punk. I used to love Bad Religion, and I love all kinds of music, right? But one day it clicked that I loved the whole sing something, play something kind of music, whether that was blues or it was Knopfler or any of these other guys that were playing stuff where, you know, even on piano, you know, like Dr. John would be singing something and playing something. And I always liked that chord response kind of thing. So I was like, I think I feel this in a different way than listening to a lot of the other music that I was listening to. And even U2, you know, like I even liked what U2 did with B.B. King on on Rattle and Hum. That's like one of my favorite albums of all time too. And even though Edge isn't like the guitar hero kind of guy, he's a great melodic player, and he's got a unique sort of sound. And it all kind of clicked one day. I was like, I want to start to sort of sing and play guitar, you know.
So how old were you when that was?
I just turned 19.
Okay, so you started like in your late teens then.
Yeah. And then I sort of about 3 years after that, I really started putting more work into it. I was just sort of noodling around, and then I got some instructional DVDs, and just started going through all the blues guys, like Robert Cray and
Right. So
even the old
you're
dudes.
self-taught then. You didn't.
Yeah, I mean, look, I got lessons from, well, not traditional lessons, but I got help from DVDs. Like I bought a beginner's guide to blues guitar with Matt Smith, which was a really great DVD. I always recommend. Oh, it was a VHS tape back then, actually. But
Yeah.
I recommend that to people if they're wanting to learn. That's still around, and it goes through all the all the classic licks and the how blues works in terms of its chord progressions and a couple of chord variations, and then
Right.
I just worked at my playing and tried to get it to a point where I could play like 24 bars without making too many mistakes in terms of solos. And then I just went to the jam nights, and I was way out of my element, but I learned really quickly because I wanted to improve, and I could.
Isn't it so amazing how? I mean, it just I mean I know exactly what you mean. When you play with other people, it's like you're on a. It's like I don't know how to put it. Like almost like a catalyst. Like you speed up.
Oh, absolutely.
You
learn a lot of things from people, and if you're around the right type of people, they'll help you as well.
Yeah.
And constructive criticism is good. Like I remember people saying, "Oh, you shouldn't probably strum like that. Try it like this." And these are still things I do today as well.
Right.
Picking out different chords, complementary chords. Don't double up on the same part. All of these things that make sense when you're told. But I know guys that have been playing 20 years that still double or triple up the guitar part that's being played because they're like unaware of the subtleties, it's you just sort of soak it all in. And like I was going to say, I've had so many great musicians around me that are still much better players than me, but it helped me sort of progress to a point where like I can sit in with almost anyone and kind of be able to jam. It's good
I
fun.
saw that Facebook Live thing that you put on the other day, and yeah, man, like it sounded pretty damn good. So
thanks. I'm not sure. Was that just the jamming at home thing? Was it or
no? That was you were playing with a band.
Oh, cool. Yeah. That was Oh, thanks. Yeah, that was I had a little gig. I think. Oh well, actually, I think there was a couple of clips. One was a jam night, and one was with the band. So,
but you were playing the PRS, I believe.
Oh, okay, yeah. So that was the gig.
Yeah, that was. Yeah, no, that was cool, man.
Yeah, it's good fun. I just love playing. It's kind of like my outlet. Much in the same way sport was back in the day. I sort of part of the reason I got into guitar more was because I hurt my back so bad I couldn't walk for a while. So,
oh really?
Well, I can't really go do anything too crazy physically. So, what am I going to do to keep myself busy? And I was like, well, I'll play more guitar, and I'm sort of glad it worked out like that. Yeah, it's good.
Yeah. No, it's I know, like, as soon as you start talking about playing with other people, like there's so many things that you can't learn from a book or a DVD. You know what I mean? And it's playing with other musicians.
One thing that really helps too is playing with imperfect time. You play to a CD, and the drums are usually playing to a click track or something like that, and it's great. Even if they've done it live, odds are there's a click track in the ear of the drummer. And I used to sit there and I used to complement what I was hearing. I tried to complement what I was hearing on the albums, not just play all the parts. Right. So I looked at it like, all right, I'll learn the main riff and I'll play along with it until I get that down, and then I'll find something else that hopefully tries to fit within the context of that CD. But when you're in a live situation, you can try to do that to some extent, but time shifts and you've got to be on your feet or on your toes or whatever to be able to sort of move and be able to make it work, because it's not like a CD. Sometimes guitar players will change their ideas in the moment. So I think a good part of playing live is really like looking around and being aware of what's going on. I see too many guys just oblivious to even what the bass player is doing or what the drums are doing, or where they're sitting in context of the song. And
well, especially with the blues, right? Because I mean, you're playing a song, but as a sort of a rough, structure. But you're not really playing it note for note. You're not doing a cover as well.
No, exactly. And that's what's great about it. Because the way I usually approach blues jams, I got about 15 or 20 songs I sing with blues. I probably used to have more, but I don't anymore. But I just changed the feel. I'll do a slow blues one night with the same lyrics, and I'll do a funk on the next one. You know, so
Right.
it's sort of with the same lyrics. It all fits. So that's the kind of fun thing about blues. As long as you're coming up with good rhythmic ideas, you can almost throw anything in with a blues feel. You know, you take your funk inspirations, take your rock and roll ones, and your even, you know, sort of you can take a ZZ Top song and kind of take that riff and turn it into a 12 bar, or you know, there's a whole lot of cool stuff you can do with it. And I don't know, I just always liked it. Something about it just it just makes me want to play. It's such a simple idea, you know, in theory, just 3 chords or sometimes a 4th chord in there, but it's you know, it's just an easy concept and it's fun to play. And I always liked the fact that I never understood that when I was younger. How do these guys just get together and play? I always thought they must have rehearsed and all that sort of stuff. But it's not like that. They're just really aware of what's going on, and whoever's leading the set, they follow that person. So,
well, like what I, you know, and I've mentioned this before, like what I really, you know, what I really appreciate about the blues is, you know, like you're saying, it's like 3 chords, it's whatever. It's a very limited vocabulary, really. You know what I mean? Like, you're not playing a bunch of changes. You're playing these 3 chords, and even even you're soloing over that. I mean, you're playing basically maybe 1 scale, maybe 2. Like, it's, you know, you're very limited. It's with a very limited vocabulary, and I'm not saying that in a derogatory way.
No, I get it. Yeah, you don't have the freedom you would have. Yeah,
it's that, but it's like, you know, my analogy is like, you know, you're basically it takes a guy with tremendous amount of talent and imagination to take a very limited vocabulary and be able to write a novel.
No, I totally agree. And blues is kind of unique as well, that, like, you know, if you're not playing in a straight up, like, say, minor blues, like where all the changes are minor,
right?
Dominant 7 thing is kind of
that opens it up.
It works with minor, which is odd. It sounds kind of strange, but it also works with major, and that kind of sounds strange. You know, like there's this odd thing with dominant blues that, I don't know, you don't hear that in a lot of songs. Like, if I was to play a 4-chord song, you could easily pick the scale and go, oh, that sits beautifully, you know. But with blues, it's this odd sort of mix of minor and major stuff, which and all those other blues notes and stuff. But it's this weird sort of form of music that shouldn't even almost sound like minor scale would work over it, you know, like, because it has that dominant sort of sound to it. So,
and that's what gives it the flavor. It's that rub of the major and the minor.
That's it.
That's what makes it interesting, you know. You know, and like, because I mean, like for myself, like I can't play the blues to save my life. Like, I need the other notes. Like, I need, you know what I mean? I need more words.
Fair enough. I mean?
Like, it's really hard to be so disciplined, you know, and play that and make it sound interesting and engaging and hold an audience. Do you know what I mean?
No, absolutely.
You know, so like, that's why, like, I have like, I mean, you know, here's a perfect example of that. I mean, B.B. King. I mean, he played how many? You know, he was pretty much played of what, 5 notes, maybe.
That's it.
Right. But what that guy could say with those 5 notes, like, I couldn't say with 50. You know what I mean? Like, you know, the control, the sustain, you know, and just the phrasing and the timing and all that. And that kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier, how it's so cool when you're playing with other musicians that you get to exercise all those muscles, you know what I mean? And create right on the spot. Like, you really have to listen in order to do that.
Yeah, all your solos should bounce off the concept at hand, you know, bounce off the rhythm. And that's what I love about it. I've always loved the phrasing and execution of the guys that I listen to, you know, that, like, whether it's Albert King or Albert Collins, 2 completely different players. B.B. King, Eric Clapton, they've all got their way of phrasing and their note selections just really tasty. And I think
tasty, that's the word.
It's just cool. It sort of hits the right spot for me, you know. I mean, like I said earlier, I listen to a lot of stuff, but I think the stuff that just gets me it's almost more the tasty phrasing and the obviously the tone and all that kind of stuff, but it's the phrasing and the note choice
Yeah,
something simple can sound great, you know.
and it just the little subtleties, you know what I mean? Just
Mhm.
like the little micro bends and all of
Yeah,
that kind of
yeah.
stuff. Like that just yeah. That's the stuff that gets you, you know. I mean, it speaks to you, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I only really play the music that I try to I that gets me like that. I don't really play a whole lot of other stuff that doesn't inspire me. I mean, I write songs that aren't straight blues songs, but it's kind of like, yeah, anything that hits that spot for me musically. That's really all I focus on these days. I don't go out of my way to learn a whole lot of other stuff.
So, um, so are you when you you're saying like for 3 years you worked on it and then you started going out to jams and like were you ever in like a early on were you in like a formal band or were you
Um,
just kind of jamming with other people and trying to develop your playing?
yeah, I did play with a band in probably it would have been around 2000, somewhere around there. It was
Mm-hmm.
pretty early on. I just had an electric guitar. I think it was a Squire, and I had a
And
little.
what was your first electric guitar? I was going to ask you that also.
Um, yeah, it was a Squire Red. It was a Gold Series Squire. I wish I sort of kept it. You know, I upgraded the pickups to Texas Specials. Well, I
Right.
didn't do it, but I had it done. And it played great. And that was before I think they were making those really cheap junk sort of Squires that you can pick up. Not that they're all junk, but there's
What
some
they,
that are just really nasty. Like this was pretty awesome for back then, and
yeah.
I
When was
really
that a
wish I
bit?
should have kept it. Sorry.
What year was that? The
Uh,
Squire. What?
it was around 2000, 1999, possibly,
Okay.
sometime
Yeah. That
around
was.
there.
Yeah. Weren't they
That
made in? I could be wrong here, but were they not made in Japan at that point?
I don't remember actually. I think it might have been a Chinese guitar,
Oh,
but
okay.
it had the gold Squire logo on it,
Right.
and it was literally. I went into a music shop. I didn't know where any of the music stores were in the town I lived in. It was sort of like before Google Maps, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
pretty sure all of that sort of stuff. So that was the only shop I knew of. So I went there, and they had one, and that was it. So I bought it. You know, like that was the one guitar that they had.
Well, you got
And
lucky. You got a good one, right?
yeah, it was great. And so I ended up playing with a band that did a mix of blues and sort of like not flamenco. That's not the right word, but it was Spanish. It was sort of like Spanish influenced sort of
Like
rhythmic
jazzy.
ideas. Yeah, just like simple four chord, like, you know, like a B minor, A, G, and F kind of pattern. You know, it's got that sort of strum. But I found like I was only interested in playing the blues. Like I wasn't really that interested in playing over or playing the other stuff.
Yeah.
And I worked out early on that if I'm going to play the stuff that I love, I'm going to have to start singing or playing in a straight up blues band. But
Well,
yeah,
it's
so
great.
not long after that, I started my own trio, and that
Oh, yeah.
really helped my development. That changed the way that I looked at everything.
Now, how do you feel about? How did you feel about being the front man? That's a whole other learning curve right there.
Yeah, it wasn't easy at the start. I mean, I could play by then too, so I felt like my guitar playing was always the focus. They say that the singing is the gaps between the guitar solos when you're in a blues trio. You know, like it's not.
Yeah.
I was terrible when I first started singing. It was awful. Like it really was bad. I mean, people can go back and have a listen to the early videos I posted on YouTube. The vocals were just awful, but they improved. You know, I'm way better at it now. But as I would hopefully should be by then. But the trio stuff does really good things for your
Oh man, yeah.
the way you look at guitar, because you think it's all about playing solos, and then you get up and you realize, like, if you're not playing
Really?
any rhythm guitar, or if you're not playing a combination of both, it sounds
Yeah.
bland. So it's a really fine line between playing kind of what you want to play and what fills out the sound of the song. So
Right.
it really helped my independence playing and singing and trying to play chords. And then when I started writing my own songs, that's when I realized, like, okay, so I'm going to play a chord, then I can play the hook, and then I can, and there was all of this stuff going on in my head. I didn't really
Yeah.
think about a whole lot before that. But yeah, I always say like the trio stuff was probably some of my best playing, because I started even more recently, if I've done it, it forces you to be in a position where you're doing you're trying to make it sound. You're not necessarily trying to make it sound busy, because the space is what makes it work. But you're trying to make it sound interesting. So you get out of just your muscle memory stuff, and that's a huge. It's a big learning curve, but it forces
I can only imagine. I mean,
you
even
into it.
just the coordination of being able to play and sing at the same time, like that's a huge.
Yeah. And it's
That's a
different
huge.
with blues too. Like I find, like if I was just playing like a song like Little Wing or something where there's chords and you can kind of get away with strumming or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
that's fine. But when it's like straight up 12-bar blues and you're in a trio situation, it's great because there's so much more space and you don't have to ask the other guitar player to turn down, or not that you would, but most of the guys I play with are fine. But
Yeah.
but then to get it to sound busy, you really need the right combination of drums and bass too. There's this, like some people are better suited to trios, some people are better suited to larger bands. I don't know how I'd go doing a trio these days. I do it from time to time just at jams, but it's a whole lot more work. It really is. It's kind of cool.
Just gonna say hello to a few more people that have popped in since once I get talking, it's
Yeah, no problems.
yeah. Oh, we got EJ's in the house. How are you? Guitar Pit, Metal Axe Music. How's everybody doing? Soda Pop, how are you? Zach Thong, Todd Flowers. How's everybody doing? Scotty G, Bumble Bess, Dave Byron is in the house. How are you, sir? Arvin Gaunt. That's great. Zip Fix Guitars. How are you, sir? Guitar Girl's in the house.
Yeah, cool.
Michael B. I apologize if I'm missing anyone, but that's why we had an issue in the beginning, because I was trying to do something on the screen. So well, I'm trying my best, folks.
That's all right. You can go
Absolute
back and
mayhem. Sorry, what was that?
I was going to say you can edit the start out. There's this tool you can sort of cut the video. So
yeah, cut the video and start again. Yeah, Poo Ninja's here. Yeah. So okay. So you're basically doing your trio thing, and so what are you doing currently? I mean, you said you're doing a gig. Well, let me. I want to ask you all about gigs too, because I'm a gigging guy too.
yeah,
But I do covers, right? Strictly covers. And when you're talking about just kind of showing up and doing a jam like that, I would love to do that.
yeah, the jams are fun. So the jams are an organized jam night. So basically,
Right.
I used to run it for 2 years, and then I had enough of trying to organize it. So I gave it to a couple of friends of mine who run it now, and it's still good fun. We go up there most weeks. So just to turn up and play, it's pretty cool, and you just work with what everybody knows, which sometimes the same stuff every week, and sometimes it's different stuff too. But just jamming is I don't know, it's just good. Sometimes you get a better set jamming than you will at a gig, because some nights the stars align or whatever, and you get people that are all listening and they're competent musicians, and it really works well. Some jam nights are better than gigs, and then you get, like, I'd say 1 out of 5 nights are special. You might get your 3 or 4 songs that are really just great, and then the rest of the weeks is pretty hard work. But you kind of go back looking for that diamond, like you go back just looking for that.
Well, has this ever happened to you, like where you get in that headspace and you play something and you can't believe it came out of your hands? Is that ever?
Yeah, and it's more about like what's going on as a collective. I always say at jam nights, you're only as good as your weakest link. So if you've got a terrible bass player, the set's going to suck. If you've got a terrible drummer, the set's going to suck. Right. It doesn't matter how good the front guys are or the bass player. It doesn't matter. It's going to be awful. And we see that week in and week out. If you're only as strong as your weakest link, and if the average is pretty decent, it's going to be good. Because all of a sudden you can have 5 awful loud sets where everybody's strumming over each other and just doing horrible things. And then you get up with a group of guys, and I just say, look, it's been pretty loud. Let's start as softly as we can, and we'll just build it up. Like, oh, thank God. Let's do it. So,
especially with blues, you got to have. There's got to. I mean, a big part of it is the dynamics, right?
Yeah, totally. And people still don't get that. They think loud is better. You know, it'll sit at 100% on some sets, and it'll almost drop, and then not 100%. So
yeah.
No, I'm a big believer in dynamics. It's part of what makes it feel good. Space makes it feel good, and getting loud's great too. But you gotta build up to it. If you start loud, it's just horrible, and it's so fatiguing for people to listen to it. If it's just loud electric guitars from the moment you kick it in. I can't stand slow blues that start out loud, you know, like I'm like, come on, guys. Just have a listen. And Absolute Mayhem just asked, do I record the jams? Yeah, I record myself play a lot. I think that's a good thing for everybody to do, you know. I post a lot of clips on my YouTube channel. Say I've got, if I buy a new amp, like I got that Marshall, I posted a clip of the DSL in the live situation because that's where people would want to hear it, you know. So a lot of those clips of new gear are generally filmed at jams. Not always. Sometimes I got a video coming up tonight, which I've got a live clip from the gig, which is I think the same one you're talking about before. So there's I like to. I've always had some sort of recorder around the jams or whatever, just to listen back and sort of critique it and go, oh man, my timing's horrible. Oh man, why am I doing this all the time? Or it's a good thing to sort of help you. It's always good to hear yourself play. It's maybe the best learning tool in the world.
Oh yeah, for sure. So we got 49 people watching. This is pretty cool. So Ed Dana's in the house. Same with Simon Bradbury. Yeah. Paul Liu. I saw Weedian. I think that's how you say your name. If not, I apologize. Weedian TV is here. That's a new face. Thank you so much for popping in. Yeah. So if anybody, Terry's in the house as well.
Hey, cool. Hey.
Base Hiroshima Nick is in here. That's great. Thank you so much, everybody, for popping in. If anybody, okay, promise I'm going to broke our record. Yeah, Guitar Girl, we did. We got 51 now. Wow. That's a personal record for my stream. So,
well, you'll have to, everybody thumbs up the stream if you're enjoying it, or if you have a question or something. That'll be cool. I'm gonna start to follow this a little bit closer. So yeah, if you have a question for Shane, highlight Shane or myself at In the Blues or at Guitar Hack, and I'll be able to see it quicker. 51 watching, 27 thumbs. Thanks, Mayhem. Yeah, we got a couple of thumbs down before we started, so that's always a good sign.
Yeah. Well,
what they don't know about YouTube is that actually helps your channel, so don't worry about it. Any interaction is good interaction. So,
Yeah.
No, it is seriously. That's how it works. I'm a big nerd. So
right. So, I mean, I learned about you, Shane. Okay, when I was looking into Tone City pedals. Remember?
Oh yeah, cool.
Yeah, that's when I found out about Shane.
Yeah.
Because nobody, and I mean nobody, was doing these things, right?
Mm-hmm. And I did the first in the world.
Yeah, I did the YouTube thing, and I was looking for a basically like a lead boost type pedal, right? And the Tone City kind of came on the radar, and I'm like, okay, and I'm looking at them all, and I'm like, oh, the Bad Horse, that sounds like the one that kind of fits. And who's got the Bad Horse demo? Shane. So I checked that out, and I ended up picking one up, and I used that as my lead boost for, I'd say, over a year.
Yeah, they're great. I mean, it's a clone in a small box.
Yeah. Oh, here's a question from Stafford Studio. Shane, do you ever get burned out between YouTube and doing the band stuff? That's a good question.
I get burned out from the YouTube stuff from time to time. Absolutely. There was a time I did 90 videos in 90 days. That wasn't a smart move. It's weird, like I don't gig that much now. Like I'm lucky to do one gig every 5 weeks or something, and that's enough. I was going to ask you. So yeah, I play live every Sunday, like without fail. But the great thing about the jams, and the great thing about the jam I go to, is a lot of the guys I play with in the band go. Dr. Rick goes, and a whole lot of, there's a lot of great musos there. So for me to turn up and play and leave whenever I want is awesome. So in terms of gigging, it's it's only once every 5 weeks or so, and I enjoy it. Sometimes we might do a second one in there every like two gigs every 6 weeks or something. But there's periods of time where just nothing comes up, and I don't really want to just book a gig for the sake of it and to play music I don't want to play. Like I've got 5 original albums, I want, or 4, and a live album. So I kind of want to play the music that I enjoy, whether it's my own stuff or blues or whatever. So I only take gigs where I'm free to do that, and that just means I don't play as often. And I'm totally happy with that. I'm not trying to push the band. We do a couple of like live shows on radio stations and stuff.
That's cool.
Nothing. Yeah, it's good fun, but nothing too crazy in terms of that. But YouTube can definitely burn you out. I mean, it's hard to sort of make a living on YouTube unless you're really busy. And I don't flog a lot of, like, I've got, merch and stuff, but I never flog it. It's very rare that you'll ever see me mention a lot of this stuff, on any of the videos I do. So I just try to keep my channel as busy as I can. And it's maybe not the best way of doing it, but some days, today I'm expecting quite a few deliveries to turn up. And then once it starts to pile up, and I was sick last week, all week, right, for like 6 or 7 days, or more, actually. I think it was like 8 days or something. But stuff piles up, and then I go, oh no, like now I've got to just get it done. So I love it though. So for me, I can spend 12 hours a day doing stuff I enjoy. It's just, if it's something I don't enjoy, that's when it's tough. But I love doing YouTube. I wouldn't do it otherwise. If I hated it or if it was a chore, I'd give it up. It's that simple. I try not to, anything in life now I don't do unless I enjoy it. I try my best to avoid it.
Suave Trainwreck popped in. How are you? BV Ninja, how are you doing? Let's see. If I missed you, I apologize. But hello everyone for popping in. Much appreciated. We got Shane from In the Blues in the house. Oh, Dave R's got a question. This is for you, Shane. With YouTube and the amount of instruction out there, if you had to learn how to play blues right now, where would you start? That's a good question.
If you're brand new to it, I would suggest going the way I did. I think it was really helpful. Look up a beginner's guide to blues guitar with Matt Smith. Great video. Teach you the fundamentals, basic licks through to more advanced licks. Get through that whole album. Get through that whole video. It's a really great tool.
It's still available.
It is. Yeah, you can. Yeah. I think you can still get it, but I mean, it's probably on YouTube as well. I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, it might be.
It's about. I remember, like, when I first started that, how daunting it was, and then when I got through it, I realized, oh wow, that was actually pretty cool. And some of those licks I still play today. So, it's a really he explains things in a good way that works. I've got someone upstairs banging around. It's just he explains things and how it should. It'll make sense. It's not all technical sort of stuff,
Right.
I think it's a really good tool. If you're more advanced, I always suggest go to Texas Blues Alley. The guy on YouTube, Anthony, he's great. He's got great lessons. He knows his stuff. But also just listen to a lot of stuff and see what you like the sound of, and try to get inspired and try to learn the stuff that inspires you, even in a listening capacity. That's the best way. Don't learn Gary Moore if you're not into his sound, or don't learn B.B. King if you're not into his sound. Focus on the stuff you like personally, and try to, pinch bits out of that. That's always a good way of learning as well. I've got the pipes were leaking outside, so I expect some banging going on in a moment. Just a heads up. Sorry
okay, I appreciate it. John A's in the house. How are you, John A? Oh, here's a question for you. It's from Dave Byron. He says to ask you about the Hughes and Kettner combo that you used at the GitCon. Is it the Edition Blue 60? That's this. He has the same amp. Is it the Edition Blue 60?
Oh, okay. So the amp was a Tubemeister 18, I think it was. Is it 18 watts? Yeah.
I've got that amp. I have the 36 watt version of that. Actually, it's like 3 feet away from me. It's right.
Yeah, I'd love to try that. I reckon the 18 was probably one of the most versatile combos I've ever played. We did a video where 4 of us tried to get our own sound out of it, and went from off clean blues to dead clean to sort of like 80s heavy rock kind of sound. So it was like, man, this is pretty cool. Like, I was really surprised. And this is no offense to Hughes and Kettner fans, I always thought they were shred metal amps. Based on their visuals, based on what I knew of them. And then I heard them and I was like, oh, these are actually really like musical in other ways as well. You can get that heavy sound, but you can also not get it, which really surprised me. So
what I find with the Hughes and Kettner, and I actually tried the 18 as well, but it's I think with the when you go with the bigger wattage, you tend to get like a bigger sound, right? Mm-hmm. So that's why I went with the 36, and it's almost like I don't know if you notice this. It's almost got like a hi-fi quality to it. Did you find that?
Yeah, I don't know. It just sounded really good. I don't really think it. I'm not sure what you mean by hi-fi in that capacity. To me, it sounded like a great little combo. There was things in terms of hi-fi. To me, means it doesn't project very well. That's
no.
I would use that.
No. I don't mean no. Hi-fi meaning it's just
like a polished sort of sound, maybe.
Yes, polished.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Gotcha.
That's exactly.
Yeah. No, I would agree with that. I was pleasantly surprised. Like I said, when I saw all the Hughes and Kettner amps, I was like, oh god, here we go, Shred City. And then I plugged in. I was like, oh, these are actually really good.
Oh, great.
Yeah,
great.
I said to the guys, I don't know if they were reps or whoever, owners of the company or whoever was there. I said, I can't believe these amps aren't used by people who don't play heavy metal. And they go, oh, well, there's a few. There's people that do. We've come some of our artists. There's a guy, Michael Wagner, who's from Germany. He's an amazing player. Probably the best blues player I've ever. He's something else, man.
Yeah,
far out. Go look that dude up on YouTube. He's amazing.
It's spelled Wagner. His last name.
Yeah, like Wagner. Yeah. And
GTV's in the house. How are you, GTV? Ooh. I'm just trying to catch everybody here. Yeah, I know those amps are the Hughes and Kettner. Actually, you know what? I've got the Marshall DSL that you love.
The 40. Yeah, nice.
I've got the 40 also, but I have the first generation.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think they're quite a bit different. Those amps. The EQ stack's pretty different, I think, on them. And
I haven't played the newer one to I mean, so I don't know, but that from what I hear, they're different.
Yeah, I've played the older ones as well. I think there's definitely some differences in the tonality. The new ones have a lot of bottom end as well. The way that they sort of overdrive is slightly different as well. But it's all in the hands.
Sorry, Marco's Images has a question for you. And welcome, Marco's Images. He's asking, do you still like the PV 112 red stripe with Sheffield 1230? He says one came up here for $150. Don't need one, but good price.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I love my PV Bandit. I never had the one with the Sheffield speaker, I don't think. Mine had the Blue Marvel, and that's the speaker that's gone back in there now. I had a Texas Heat speaker in mine for a while, but I've actually put that in the Marshall just to mix it up.
Right. Yeah, you like doing that a lot, don't you? You always mention that, swapping out speakers.
Yeah, it makes a huge difference. Like one of my I got a few speakers I don't like at all, and anytime I've seen them in an amp that had potential, I tried a different speaker, and I was like, oh, this is great. But the stock speaker in PV Bandits are good too. So it's one of those things you just I don't know where you live. Mark was asking the question, but for $150. That's not a bad deal, especially in Australia. I think I paid like $160 for mine, so that sounds pretty good.
Yeah, you have the same problem in Australia that we have. I'm in Canada. I'm in Toronto, Canada, and it's the dollar, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we got the weak dollar. Yeah,
ours are pretty much the same most of the year round. Canada and Australia.
Bobby Clipper's in the house. How are you, Bobby Clipper? Oh, Jeff Ripplinger is asking me, wasn't Alex Lifeson one of the first Hughes and Kettner? Yeah, he was. Yeah, Alex Lifeson played exclusively Hughes and Kettner. That would have been the Snakes and Arrows tour, so I don't know what year that was, but that was a while back.
It
Yeah.
says with all the new guitars, can you have my Tokai Les Paul? No, unfortunately not. I might sell it to you though if you're after a lefty. No.
Yeah. Yeah. I saw that. I forget the name of it, but that red one that you were
The
saying, Reverend.
Pure Salem guitar. Yeah.
Yeah, I've never heard of that, never seen it, but when you pull
Me
that
either.
thing out, man, that thing looks sharp.
It's pretty cool. It might have arguably my favorite bridge pickup out of any of my guitars. It's really great.
The Guitar Pit's got a question for you. What's a piece of gear that is vastly more expensive in your neck of the woods that you'd buy if it weren't for the markup?
Oh man. I mean, there's so many amplifiers that are more expensive here. We get ripped off, right? Like, I don't know if you ever saw my video about like Fender prices in Australia versus the rest of the world, but some of the stuff is over double. Even with the exchange rate and import duties, it doesn't make a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, you can get deals, and other times things work out better to some extent, but not music gear. I don't know. Look, there's a lot of recording equipment I'd like to buy, but it's just ridiculously expensive here as opposed to overseas. Yeah, look, I can't give you one piece of gear off the top of my head. It's just check out some Australian retail shops and just have a look through some of the prices compared to wherever you live. And remember, our dollar's the same as Canada, so that'll give you.
We're at about. I mean, we bounce around, but I'd say generally about 75, 76.
Yeah, that's
US
right,
dollar.
exactly where we are as well.
There you go.
I don't check it every day, but usually when I check it, I realize like we're still pretty much the same, and our prices are crazy expensive. Gibson's another one where like the prices of Gibsons here are just insane. I mean, look, we do make a good amount of money in regular jobs here. It's not like, you know, other parts of the world where you get paid next to nothing. There's a minimum wage, which is pretty good. But sorry about the hammering upstairs.
I don't hear it.
Oh, that's all right. I've turned my mic gain down, so hopefully it doesn't come through.
No, I haven't heard anything yet, Shane.
Yeah, there's plenty of. There's just. I can't give you one piece of gear.
Because I'll tell you what a Gibson costs here. Okay, a Gibson standard here is probably about $33,600 in that range for a new standard.
They're $4,349 here.
Oh my god!
And another place has one for standard 2018 has one for $47.99.
Oh my god!
Another one has one for $5,099.
Oh my god!
And if you type in Gibson Les, look, you got to be on google.com.au. But if you type in Les Paul standard, these are just the quick Mojave burst ones that came up with that price on the right of the list on Google. So I haven't gone through all the shops. Odds are you probably wouldn't pay that much, but
wow.
The thing is, you do get deals. So while it says $5,700 retail, or whatever it was, $5,000, you'd get it. You'd go in and you'd get it for less than that, right? But
even the prices here for Les Pauls because what happens is when the Les Paul raises their prices, then everybody that's selling a used one will raise theirs as well.
Yeah.
So you like the used Les Pauls. I mean, you were able to get one here up until about 6 months ago. You could have probably got one for under $2,000. Now they're all selling them over $2,000 for a standard. Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy.
Yeah. So yeah,
part of the reason why Japanese guitars are so popular here now. Like a lot of people are playing, you know, all the old Bernies or the Tokai guitars, which I like. A lot of guys will go for those, and they're indistinguishable almost, you know, visually as well.
Yeah. Well,
like the 50s and 60s guitars. They're really
that Cherry Burst Tokai you have, that's a really, I mean, it's got a really nice finish to it too. I mean, it's a good looking guitar.
Yeah, I love it. And my 335 I've been playing a lot more lately from Tokai as well. I just love it. I think it's a really, they just, for $1,700, that's their price. So
right.
If you walk in, you can get them for a whole lot less as well. Sorry, this guy
started the
can't
work.
believe it. Yeah, the pipes are leaking, so I thought they finished it yesterday, but obviously not. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to keep you much longer because I know you were saying that you've got some stuff coming in, and I actually have a rehearsal tonight, and so I'm not gonna. I'll go till 8 o'clock, which is like 8 minutes from now.
Yeah,
Um,
no worries. Sorry about my this guy's going to town back here, so I'll just mute when I'm not talking, so I don't ruin it
yeah, yeah.
for
Well,
you.
it's okay. It's even when we hear it, it's still kind of very background noise. It's not overpowering at all. Oh, Fender Guru came in. How are you, sir? Yeah, Fender Guru's in New Zealand.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Um, yeah, so if there's any again, I'm gonna hang around for another 8 minutes or so. If anybody's got any last minute questions for Shane, BV Ninja's mentioning that Philip McKnight is currently with Rob Chapman. There you go.
In what capacity? No, I mean, like, is he working with him, or is he like
Well,
hanging out with him at a
I
shop or
know
something?
that Chapman is doing like a tour of all the guitar centers, and I think he's in. I guess it must be in Arizona because that's where Phil McKnight is. So I don't know. Maybe he's doing a video with him or something. Yeah, yeah. So okay, exchange rate. So Dave R's doing a bunch of math, and he's saying at the current exchange rate, it would be. So he's talking about the price. I think still of standards. He's saying it's $4,700, or that's what it would be Australian. Yeah.
From
Oh,
US to Australia, or I'm
I
not
think
sure,
that's
or
what he's
from
talking about.
oh,
Yeah,
okay.
Dave R's in the U.S. Guitar Girl's got a question. Does Shane have any of the Blues Cube tone capsules?
No, I would almost suggest staying away from them. Just use the amp as it is. I don't find any benefit to them at all. You just run a pedal into it if you want a different sound. Save your money. I don't own one of those amps, by the way. I did some reviews on them, but I just borrowed them from a shop. So
Right, right, right. I saw your review that you did of the Marshall Classics. Sorry, not the Marshall, the Origin. Sorry.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And and then you said I was watching your stream the other day. You were mentioning something about probably the heads would sound better than the
Uh,
combos.
yeah, I think so. I mean, you can basically pair them with a better speaker box. I kind of felt like
Yeah, the
the
speakers were
10 inch
awesome.
the 10-inch speaker is just not enough, in that
Yeah,
20. It's a great little amp, but
yeah,
we found like we did some videos for another channel, and we found like it was really struggling once you crank it.
yeah,
To put it into a bigger box. The bigger box makes
yeah,
a big difference to the tone, especially like you compare like a Blues Junior to a AC15. The
yeah.
AC15 has more spread, even though they're technically pretty much identical amplifiers because the cab's bigger. Um, so that
Right.
would be. I always look for something bigger cabinet. Generally, the better the amp will sound,
Yeah,
and then you can pair it with a better speaker too. The speakers they're putting in those combos aren't the best. They're okay. Look, it's all subjective. If you like it, that's fine. But you can essentially just put it with a much more efficient speaker and make the amp louder and have more bass and handle the volume better and all that kind of stuff as
yeah.
well.
Well, I bought I have the Origin head. I've got the 50-watt head, and I run that through a 212 and with vintage 30s, and it sounds really good.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, the headset. I always reckon that's the way to go.
Yeah,
For
the head and
those
cab.
combos.
Yeah, yeah. Mr. BHB Bruce has got a question. What do you think about the Jensen speaker and the Blues Junior Tweed?
I think they're great. They sound a little nasally on their own. In the mix, they're way better than the stock speaker. If you get a Jensen speaker and a Blues Junior, just leave it in there.
Oh, Michael
Sound.
B. So you're responsible for another purchase. Michael B says that he bought a Mustang GT after your review,
Oh, cool.
and he said what's good and not. Really knew what I was getting. Loving the amp.
Yeah, I got to say, my review didn't do it justice. I have a video coming up about that tonight. I had this. I love it. I've used it live a few times. I'm shocked because I was one of the biggest detractors from their release when I bought the original GT 200 when they first came out. They weren't very good. It was like a step backwards from the older series, but they've finally fixed it. And I borrowed a GT, a Mustang version 2 amp, the prior one, and I've got both at the moment. And yeah, I got to say the new ones are pretty cool. So
Yeah.
I'm shocked. I've sort of done a 180, but my video review of it, the mic placement wasn't ideal. So I've got a secondary quick video coming up just to show people how it should sound in the room, at least anyway, or what I was hearing.
Well, that's what
the great amps.
Yeah, it's one thing I'm going to mention about, like your reviews is, they're very honest. You know what I mean? And there's not a lot of YouTubers. I mean, with your amount of subs that are going to sit there and give an honest opinion. So I think a lot of people really appreciate your honesty when you're reviewing things, good or bad. Like you'll tell it like it is, from your perspective, and that's much appreciated.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, and I think like the bigger the channel gets, the more of a responsibility you've got to sort of be honest with stuff as well. Like I find if I was to say, oh, something's really great and it isn't when the channel's big, you're going to let down a whole lot of people. But the reverse is also true. And it's funny because I was I probably had a pretty huge negative impact on the GT amps because I went out and paid $900 for one the same day it came out. And so did my friend, Dr. Rick. And we were both pretty dissatisfied, but he held on to his. He just said, like I'll use it at home, whatever. Yeah. And we both now feel like the exact opposite. Like I've used this thing at gigs now twice and it's plenty fine. And I never felt like that before. I'd always tell Rick, you got to turn up because I can't hear you. It sounds like the sound's coming out of the back of your amp. And look, there's two types of videos I do. I do reviews where I critique something up against something that might have been the prior generation or, verbally compare them in a way. Like what are the pros and cons of this new one, whether or not a pedals come out with an extra control or whether it's needed. I'll mention those kind of facts. But sometimes I just do straight up demos where I'm sent something like a fuzz, and people probably know I'm not the biggest fuzz fan out there.
Neither am I.
Yeah, but I know there's a big audience for it, so I just say, well, here it is, because that kind of stuff's subjective. But when it's something that is supposed to do everything or appeal to everybody, and I have had input into the guitar community for years with it, that's when I'll give you like my full kind of review and talk about the pros and cons. And it wouldn't be in my best interest to ever like just flip a switch and go, oh, you know what? It's great just because. I'm never going to do that. And I've been lucky with the stuff that I've been able to borrow. I mentioned the pros and cons in it as well because I'm not under any obligation to any of these companies. I don't work for all of them. I don't hate from any of them. So, Fender sent the amp out. They just said, do what you like. And if that wasn't the case, I wouldn't have accepted it. Yeah. Said, try it again. Let us know what you think. And if you want to make a video, go for it. And that was the arrangement. It's funny though, because the bigger you get, people always assume the worst in everybody as well. It's like, oh, Fender got him on the books and all this. I'm like, that's not the case. Yeah. I wouldn't have done that if that was the case. I didn't want payment from them. I wouldn't have taken it. If I'm happy to, they're nice enough to obviously let me keep the amp, but I don't see that as a form of payment. I see that as fair for 10 hours of work. If I was charging $40 an hour.
Yeah, for sure.
Or whatever the amount of money is for what I do. For some people charge every video they produce. I'm not like that. I don't work that way. I think that almost sends the wrong message. I know some people say, oh, I should be paid for your production time, but my way of working is different. I like to just get everything that comes in, into the channel. I like to just get it. If I like it, I'll make a video, and then if I really love it, I'll keep it. If I don't, I'll sell it, and that's how I make ends meet. And it's not about just keeping stuff hoarded behind me in videos or hoarded in the cupboard. I'm not that sort of guy. I'm very functional when it comes to what I keep. And right now, I feel like I've got too many guitars. I really do. I've got more than I'll ever use or need to play with live. That sounds crazy to some people, but I'm not like, I don't want to hang them on the wall. I don't want to have 15 guitars behind me in a video. It really doesn't send the right message. It's not who I am. I play live, and even though I'm a YouTuber now, I played live before I did YouTube, and I'll be playing live long after, and I don't need 12 guitars, you know, and it's crazy. But I love to get stuff in, and I think people miss the point. Like even if I sell something, it doesn't mean that my critique of it wasn't valid if it was still great. It's just that I've already got 2 Telecasters. Like, why do I need a third, you know, for example? So it's crazy. The larger the channel gets, the more stuff you people just want to send you stuff all the time, and that's cool. Like that's what keeps the channel moving ahead. But for me, just to hoard everything, I would make ends meet. There's no way. Like, YouTube's not the most financially lucrative of ideas out there, unless you're in the tech industry or something like that. But it's not an industry that I don't think people realize. Like, they probably think, oh, this guy must make, you know, $5,000 a month or something like that. Yeah, you maybe halve it and then halve it a bit more, but it's it's not really a niche on YouTube that's a high paying one. But I do it because I love it and I enjoy it. And for me, playing with guitars and pedals and toys and amps and all kinds of stuff it's just fun, you know. And I like to think and like to hope that people can, you know, after 11 years of doing this, that people can kind of trust my opinion on stuff. And the proof's in the pudding, or whatever they say, you know. Like, people, I've had thousands of comments where people have said, oh, I've got this because of your video and I love it. And that's one of those things.
I've been reading those comments as we've been going. Yeah. So it's a little after 8 o'clock, so I think we're gonna wrap this up. I'd like to thank a 64 T-Bird has popped in. How are you? So yeah, I think I'm gonna wrap this up again. Thanks everybody for popping in. This was fantastic. This hour just blew right by, which is always a sign of a nice chat. I'd like to thank Shane from In the Blues for coming in and sharing his story with us and talking to us about gear. I'd like to thank again everyone in the chat. So I got a couple of quick announcements. Canucks with Guitars, Ben Coombs started 4 minutes ago. So by all means, please jump over to Canucks with Guitars. After Canucks with Guitars, check out EJ's Guitars. EJ's doing his SHIT show at 9 o'clock, so make sure you check that out too. I will be back on Monday with another live stream with Cheddar Kung Pao. So if you want to check that out, I got Cheddar coming on. So tune in 7 o'clock on Monday for Cheddar Kung Pao. And I hope everybody has a great evening. I hope everybody has a great weekend. And we'll talk to you soon. Cheers, all.
Thanks.
Thank you. Just hang out for a second there. Let me just